reaching the summit. 11 deaths in 10 days. Our team in Nepal tonight with new images here. What climbers find when they reach the top. A logjam of other climbers, and you'll hear the chilling description tonight. Former Vice President Joe Biden responding to President Trump tonight after the president targeted Biden while overseas, agreeing with Kim Jong-un. The driver bringing a man to the hospital when the alarming moment happens, the man apparently attacking him for not getting him to the hospital quickly enough. The news conference moments ago, the woman who survived 17 days lost in the woods. What did she eat and how she slept in a boar's den? And the Memorial Day visitors who left this behind. The outrage tonight, over 10 tons of trash.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. It's great to have you with us here on this Tuesday night, and we begin with reports of new tornadoes on the ground just a short time ago, this time in Pennsylvania. In fact, there are warnings and watches right now from Texas all the way up to the Northeast. It has been relentless and now deadly. The outbreak now in its 12th straight day, more than 50 tornadoes reported in just the past 24 hours. This one right here in Grant County, Indiana. Tonight, the devastating scene across Ohio. They have now confirmed multiple EF3 tornadoes, winds up to 140 miles an hour. Look at this. Homes in Dayton completely destroyed tonight. Schools and businesses damaged too. And all of this as we also watch a flooding emergency unfold across several states as well. That home right there sinking right into the river near Crescent, Oklahoma. Again tonight, millions bracing right now for severe storms. The warnings outside Philadelphia just a short time ago. And Alex Perez leads us off from Dayton tonight.
Tonight, a white-knuckle commute for millions. Those severe storms now moving east.
If you live in these communities, you want to get in your safe place immediately.
This after a deadly tornado outbreak overnight. More than 50 twisters reported in 8 states. The National Weather Service declaring a tornado emergency in the Dayton, Ohio area.
There you go, power flash, tornado on the ground.
The tornado just hit our house. Oh my God. We were just sitting out here.
The New Life Worship Center taking a direct hit. Its steeple completely ripped off.
There's about 25 people, adults and children, in the bathroom inside there.
Within 5-10 seconds, it goes from dead quiet to a jet engine taking off.
The fire department breaking down doors with sledgehammers, searching for people who may be trapped.
Look out for your neighbors. If you haven't seen somebody that you know, please give us a call.
This is what's left of Troy Street in Dayton, Ohio, one of the hardest hit areas. You can see this heavy metal fence completely knocked over, and over here, the metal roof of one building wrapped around this tree. Neighborhoods in the storm's aftermath appearing apocalyptic. Multiple EF3 twisters tearing through the area.
It's a sad sight. Everybody's going through all their stuff. I can't even imagine.
In nearby Salina, widespread damage. An 81-year-old man was killed when a car crashed into his house. Back in Dayton,
you can see the kitchen, the dining room, and what's left.
Tammy King and her husband grateful to be alive.
We grabbed each other, held each other, and just thank God that we were still here.
Surviving the storm in their basement.
We are thinking about all of those families tonight. Alex is live from Dayton, and Alex, we can see the home completely demolished behind you. Crews are still working to try to get the power back on for so many people, now picking up the pieces.
Yeah, that's right, David. And people here have also been told they have to boil their water. But I want you to take a look around me here. You can see the rage of this storm. This is what's left of a brick house. There are bricks just about everywhere you look. And if you look here, that's the living room couch. It's now outside. The long, frustrating process of rebuilding is only just beginning. David?
And now we know, Alex, thank you. We know many are bracing for more tornadoes. We'll have that forecast in just a moment, but there is also a flooding emergency playing out across several states. Several bridges were closed today, rivers rising. ABC's Will Carr tonight in Sand Springs, Oklahoma. He's outside Tulsa in a neighborhood underwater.
David, entire neighborhoods are underwater tonight. We have seen hundreds of homes that are swamped, and the Arkansas River is still going up. We're just downriver from the Keystone Dam, where they're releasing enough water to fill 3 Olympic-sized swimming pools every second. That's caused this flooding in Oklahoma and in Arkansas, where they had to close 2 bridges down today. With more storms on the way, this could be a historic disaster by the end of the week. David.
Watching the flooding as well. Will Carr, thank you. Let's get right to Rob tonight, who's watching all of this and this urgent threat involving tornadoes across several states. Rob?
Yes, David, another night of expansive storm coverage, including some of the big cities. Here in New York, we'll get it in an hour, but I'm worried about folks to our south, including Philadelphia. Here's a storm watch across all of Pennsylvania, but there's a warning up for just to the south of Philadelphia. I'm worried about Chester. I'm worried about Wilmington. Scranton has a tornado warning out as well, and they're getting rough in Pittsburgh. Back through Kansas City, look at that. That's the western flank of this. Over 12 states under watches currently, and you'll see as we put things into motion, the western part of this does not move much. Chicago, Cincinnati, over through New York, Philly, and D.C. get another pulse of severe weather tomorrow night, and all these threats include damaging winds, scattered hail, and a few tornadoes, and of course, more in the way of rain, for which nobody really needs. David?
Rob Marciano has been storm chasing for days for us. Rob, thank you. To other news tonight, there was a developing headline just before we came on the air tonight involving yet another security breach at Mar-a-Lago while the president was in Florida. Here's our Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas tonight with late reporting.
Tonight, a college freshman admits to illegally getting into Mar-a-Lago Resort while the president was there last Thanksgiving, telling the judge, according to the Palm Beach Post, "I wanted to see how far I could get." Apparently pretty far. The Post reporting that 18-year-old Mark Lindblom was arrested 20 minutes later after walking the grounds. Prosecutors say that he came through a beach access tunnel and simply walked in, even though he's not a member. And although he went through a Secret Service metal detector, Lindblom's breach is again raising questions about security when the president is at the resort. In March, another incident at Mar-a-Lago when a Chinese national was arrested after allegedly telling security that she was there to go to the swimming pool. Investigators charged her with lying to the Secret Service and entering a restricted space. David, prosecutors say the college freshman used his cell phone to take photographs and video during his time at the resort. That cell phone was later seized. David?
Pierre Thomas with us live tonight as well. Pierre, thank you. And next to the emergency on Mount Everest, a second American climber has died after reaching the summit. 11 deaths there in just the past 10 days. A record number of permits have been issued this season, creating essentially traffic jams on the mountain, delays that can threaten lives. And tonight, our James Longman is in Nepal with new images and the chilling description of what an American climber witnessed.
Tonight, chaos at the top of the world. This stunning new video shows that crush of climbers struggling to summit Everest. 11 now dead in just 10 days, among them 2 Americans, including 62-year-old Chris Coolish from Colorado. Fellow American Ed Doering was on the same climb team as Coolish and described a frenzy at the peak, a space he said was about the size of 2 ping pong tables side by side.
I several times was elbowed, pushed aside, shoved by people who were just focused on getting their ideal picture or getting a banner out that they could take a picture of. It was scary because if you lose your footing, potentially you're going to slide off the summit.
Coolish and the first American victim, Utah native Don Cash, both died on their way down after successfully summiting. Both were experienced climbers. That's not the case for everyone.
Too many inexperienced people are on the mountain. Not only are we having more people climbing at the same time, but we have more and more people, I think, over the years that are climbing without the experience they need.
Doering describing climbing around a dead climber on his way to the summit. A record 381 permits have been issued to climb Everest this year. And because of bad weather, over 200 people were forced to summit on one good day. But the traffic jams create an hours-long wait in what's called the death zone, where a lack of oxygen and exhaustion test even the world's best climbers.
And James Longman reporting in tonight from Kathmandu, Nepal. And James, the climber you interviewed there describing stepping around that dead climber, the jam of climbers slowing their descent from the top, really just horrifying stories. And people are going to ask when they see the pictures you showed there tonight, why are they allowing so many climbers at once?
Well, David, there are more and more tour groups offering lower and lower prices, and those lines you saw there are caused in part by inexperienced climbers unable to use complicated equipment. That causes loads of people to wait behind them in dangerous conditions. David?
James Longman in Nepal for us tonight. James, thank you. President Trump is back at the White House tonight after a 4-day visit to Japan, where he took aim at his 2020 rival Joe Biden while on foreign soil. The president agreeing with what Kim Jong-un had said about Biden. Tonight, Biden is now responding, and here's ABC's chief White House correspondent, Jonathan Karl.
In Japan, Donald Trump not only ditched the tradition of American presidents avoiding partisan politics overseas, he said he agreed with an insult North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un directed at former Vice President Joe Biden.
Kim Jong-un made a statement that Joe Biden is a low IQ individual. He probably is, based on his record. I think I agree with him on that.
And then, standing next to the Japanese prime minister, he added his own attacks on Biden.
But in terms of criticism that you're sort of supporting a dictator instead of an American vice president?
But I can tell you that Joe Biden was a disaster.
Biden waited until Trump was back in Washington before responding, his spokeswoman issuing a statement 10 minutes after Air Force One landed. The president's comments are beneath the dignity of the office. To be on foreign soil on Memorial Day and decide repeatedly with a murderous dictator against a fellow American and former vice president speaks for itself. The Biden campaign said it was part of a pattern of Trump siding with autocrats. In Japan, the president also said he wasn't concerned about North Korea's short-range missile tests earlier this month, directly contradicting his own national security team.
You're not bothered at all by the small missiles?
No, I'm not. I am personally not.
John Carl with us live tonight from the White House. And as you reported there, John, Joe Biden saying these attacks are below the dignity of the office of the president. Is there any response from the president tonight?
Well, I asked the president about those comments as soon as he got back here this afternoon to the White House. No response. But just minutes ago, David, he was back on Twitter again insulting Joe Biden, making no apologies for what he said in Japan. In fact, repeating almost word for word what he said about Biden back there.
The 2020 race is here. John Carl, thank you. There are new developments tonight in the widening debate over abortion in this country. Missouri's only abortion clinic could close Friday because the state is threatening not to renew its license. Planned Parenthood, which operates the clinic, reports the state says it is investigating, quote, a large number of possible deficiencies. It comes days after Missouri's governor signed a new law that bans abortions after 8 weeks with no exceptions. And tonight, the Supreme Court has issued a two-part ruling on Indiana's anti-abortion law, upholding its requirement that fetal remains be buried or cremated, but keeping in place a lower court ruling that blocked the law's ban on abortions motivated by race, sex, or disability of the fetus. Next tonight, here to the alarming scene, a Lyft driver attacked here in New York City by a passenger he was taking to the hospital. The man apparently angry he wasn't driving fast enough. It is difficult to watch, and there is an investigation now. Here's ABC's Lindsay Davis.
It's about 10 minutes.
An impatient Lyft rider gets physical, and tonight he is wanted by police. In this newly released dashcam video, you can see the man pummeling his driver, Eduardo Madiero. The driver picked up 2 passengers in New York City on Thursday.
Drive faster, please.
Throughout the ride, the male passenger appears to be in pain, complaining they aren't getting to the hospital fast enough.
I'm sorry, man. I can't get in front of the cars that are in front of me.
The agitated passenger then curses at the driver.
Excuse me, man. If you're going to be disrespectful, I'll just pull over right now.
The physical confrontation lasts about a minute.
Please stop!
Just before the male passenger flees on foot, he throws a punch through the driver's side window.
I was trying to do my best to steer and just pull over as much as possible. Luckily, there was no pedestrians in the way.
The driver says he immediately called 911 and filed a police report. Lyft tells us they do not tolerate harassment or violence, and they have permanently banned that passenger from the platform. Investigation now underway.
Just awful video. All right, Lindsay, thank you. One more high-profile decision from the Supreme Court tonight. The justice is choosing not to take up a challenge to a Pennsylvania school district's policy on transgender students. The effect of that decision is that the Boyerton School District, 45 miles from Philadelphia, will continue to allow transgender students their own choice of which bathrooms and locker rooms they will use. There is tonight here the woman who survived 17 days lost in the woods. She was before the cameras just a short time ago. How she survived. ABC's Marcus Moore is in Maui.
Just days after that miracle rescue, Amanda Eller revealing new details about her 17-day ordeal in the rugged Hawaiian terrain.
I'm so grateful to be alive, grateful for every breath, grateful for everything.
The yoga instructor and physical therapist says she got lost during a hike when she stumbled onto a path for wild boars. Amanda breaking her leg, even taking cover in a boar's den.
You slept in the den of a wild boar. I wonder if you could tell us more about that.
So there's boars everywhere through there. My ankles were already tore up. It was like me following boar paths to their boar dens to sleep for the night.
And she says she faced flash floods too.
I was sitting in a foot of water on hard rocks that I knew were digging into my skin, and curled up into a ball. I couldn't sleep. The only thing I could do was meditate.
After weeks of surviving on insects and guava, searchers spotting her from above.
It was a miracle. And when I looked up and I saw the helicopter right over me and he's pointing right at me, I just like fell to the ground and just started bawling.
We are getting our first look at the waterfall from the air where Amanda was found on Friday. You can see it off in the distance there. It gives you a sense of just how lucky she was.
Amanda found sunburnt and weak, her ankles badly blistered. The team loading her into a basket and airlifting her to safety.
Oh my God, it's so nice to see you.
And last night, an emotional reunion with the searchers who helped bring Amanda home.
I'm just the girl that got lost in the woods. And you guys like showed up hard. Like this is like true aloha.
And David, Amanda says she saw numerous helicopters flying over, but they didn't see her. She was putting SOS on rocks, even leaving clothing out, hoping that they would see that she was there. Amanda also said that throughout much of this, she felt like she was invisible, but not alone. David?
I love how she said this is true aloha. We're just glad she's okay, and thanks to all those rescuers. Marcus, thank you. When we come to the index tonight, and the 4-year-old boy attacked by a suspected mountain lion near San Diego. The child was hiking with his father and a group at a nature preserve when an animal then pounced at his head. The father throwing rocks to frighten it away. A female mountain lion was later euthanized in the same area. Tonight, authorities are trying to confirm whether it was that animal. The boy is recovering tonight. The massive freight train derailment in Wellington, Ohio. 22 cars and 2 locomotives jumping the tracks. The cars carrying produce and building materials. One of the engines was leaking fuel. No injuries reported. There is outrage tonight in Virginia Beach. Authorities say visitors left behind 10 tons of trash on Chicks Beach this weekend. The mess after a festival celebrating the unofficial start of summer. City officials asking everyone to leave the beach the way you found it. And did you leave any money at the security checkpoint? The TSA collecting more than $960,000 last year in loose change. Unclaimed money at airports going into a special fund for security programs. The TSA collecting the most change at JFK, LAX, and in Miami. When we come back, Ken Jennings has been so supportive of Jeopardy James, but is there anything getting to him? There's a reason they now call him Jeopardy James.
If you're going to beat him and replace him as Jeopardy champion, you had better bring your A game.
He's been bringing his.
James, start us.
Year's biggest hit song, 1,000.
Last night, he made it 28 straight wins.
James.
What is Call Me?
Yes, James.
What is The Gilded Age?
Right, James.
What is Ruminate?
Ruminate, that's it.
He's now surpassed $2 million. Only Ken Jennings has done that. And James is now less than $300,000 away from Ken Jennings' record.
Ken. Who is Aristophanes?
Ken.
What's the Trojan horse?
Tonight, Ken Jennings rooting for James too.
For 15 years, I have thought somebody was going to make a run at this record. What I did not expect is that somebody could make a run at the cash record in like a third the time.
But is there anything that bothers him about this?
You know what bothers me is when I hear people say Jeopardy James. I'm like, no. I'm that guy. You can't put Jeopardy in front of his name.
And here's how he answered when Amy Robach asked him this.
So how would you feel about, at one point, you facing off with James?
You know, the thing is, it's been 15 years for me. We'll never know how Babe Ruth and Hank Aaron would have played at the same time because they were decades apart, Can I have my 2004 brain back if I play this guy?
He did say, though, he thought he could hold his own. We'll see. I'm David Muir. Hope to see you tomorrow. Good night.